Hello everyone, welcome back to JDCodebase. In today's video, we are going to understand something very important in the React. A lot of beginners can learn the context API, then they think, how, okay, now I don't need anything else for the state management. But when your application grows, context is not enough. So today we will understand what context does well, where context start falling, and why we need a global state manager, and when to move to tools like Redux or Zustand. And I promise you, by the end of this video, not only will you understand it clearly, you will be confident enough to teach it to someone else. So first topic in this first one is the recap. What is context API? Before we talk about the limitation, let's quickly revise what context API. Context API was introduced in the React by Meta. It helped us to share data globally in our application without passing the props manually at every level. And this is what we can call avoid prop drilling. It works very well for small global data like theme, authentication user, language settings, small to medium state. So context is not bad. It is actually very useful. But the problem starts when our application becomes larger and bigger. Now the problem is the context is not a full state manager. The context API is not designed for sharing data or not for managing complex state logic. It does not automatically optimize re-render. If the value changes, all component using the context re-render. Also, when we create too many context, our app become messy and there is no built-in middleware system, and managing large-scale application becomes difficult. To understand this, so let's see the limitation for this. First one is the performance issue. When a context value change, all consuming component its re-render. In large app, this can slow down the performance. And imagine a real app. You create auth context, theme context, card context, notification context, app setting context. Now your app.js looks like nested provider inside providers, and so on. It becomes messy and hard to maintain. So context does not give a action-based structure, middleware handling, and developer tools for debugging and predictable state flow. So when your logic becomes complex, context alone feels weak. Now think about the real MERN project scenario. Think about a real MERN project like a e-commerce app, real-time dashboard, social media app. You need a card state, authentication state, notification, API caching, a real-time updates. If you try to managing all these with only context, your code becomes hard to manage. Now, what is a global state manager? And in this, a global state manager is a dedicated solution to manage the application wide state. It provides centralized the store, predictable update, middleware support, and developer tool for the debugging and better performance control. And examples like Redux, this is the one of the most important for the centralized state, and Justand and Recall Mobex are the others. Now, why not just the use context everywhere? Because in this re-render, the if any context change in anything change, all the have a re-render, not centralized architecture, and there is no developer tools, so hard to debug and not scalable for the enterprise apps like e-commerce or banking apps. So it was built for sharing, not state the architecture. Now, when should you move to beyond the context? You should consider moving when your app becomes larger. You have multiple unrelated state. Your logic becomes complex. You need middleware like logging or async handling. You need developer tools. Performance become important. So don't switch too early, but don't switch too late. And here is the comparison between the context versus the global state manager. And For the small apps, context API is good and Redux is the overkill. Means setup for Redux in a small app is uh, uh, too big. And for large apps, context API is very difficult, means not suitable, but for Redux it is suitable. Developer tools in Redux we get in for middleware, context API is not suitable, but Redux we are get. And performance control, it is limited to small estate like theme or authentication user, but in Redux it is advanced, it gives us advanced control. So best practices in the MERN app. Use context for authentication user theme, simple global data, and use Redux for Zustand or Zustand for large state, complex business logic, and production scale apps. So this gives the balance. Now key takeaways. Context is powerful but limited. It was built for sharing the data, not managing the complex architecture. Large one application needs better state tools, and choose tools based on the project. Like if you have small project, then choose context API. If you have large, then choose the Redux. Always choose based on the project size and never over engineer small apps. Now you clearly understand when context is enough and when it is not. In the next video, we will start learning Redux step by step from beginner level. If you found this video helpful, like it and share it with your friends, and subscribe to JDCodebase. We are building strong developer here, not just copying the paid code.